Hey, what's up, everybody? It's BDL44. So I just stumbled upon a topic here. Uh, Joel Embiid released a statement saying essentially that he apologized to the city of Philly. That more or less, I'm paraphrasing as always, but one thing he learned being in the city of Philadelphia is how tough the city is, and that's why he chose to play with a torn meniscus. He's sorry he couldn't get it done uh, as far as bringing them a championship. Basically, that's what he was saying. And a lot of people in the comment section of that post were basically saying that they thought that he was basically saying goodbye to the city of Philadelphia, and that he's kind of letting everybody know that he's more or less starting to look around. I think what's going on here is maybe some of that very thing, but also just understanding that the Philadelphia 76ers are going to be involved in the trade market, and that one of the GM that they have in place is probably the most likely guy to blow a situation up in the entire league. I mean, he's not from a standpoint of looking at his situation and saying, okay, it's time to blow it up, but just looking at his track record with the Rockets and seeing how he maneuvered there. I mean, he was constantly in trade rumors, constantly looking to do something, constantly uh, involving his team in situations that were experimental. And even though they worked for the most part getting them to the conference finals, it was always trade energy surrounding the team. So I think Joel Embiid doesn't really know what his future is with the Philadelphia 76ers, knowing that that you know that is the case. So I think that's part of it. I also think that he wanted people to understand he's playing with a torn meniscus, and that he the risk was there, and that he continues to battle injuries and maybe doesn't know how long he's going to play. To be honest with you guys, um, big guys is kind of difficult to say because I've seen them come in for like maybe 4 or 5 years, 6, 7 years, however, and then walk away from the game because of injuries. We've seen it several times. I think of a couple guys, like one guy named Rick Smits, who was an all-star. I don't think he played for more than 9 years, 10 years. He was gone. Um, I think of a guy obviously like Andrew Bynum. He was a superstar caliber player, won championship, and then he was out in about 8 years. I don't think he played longer than 8 years. We've seen this before. We've seen a lot of guys. They just don't have long careers. They're big and they're talented, but they don't have the kind of career lifespan that maybe some uh, of the guards do. But then you've seen also where bigs have the longest careers of all time. You think about guys like Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and Robert Parrish, played forever. So I mean, it varies, but one thing I know is that if you're tall and you have leg issues, there is uh, cause for concern based on the history of other players behind you. So I can see where he's looking at every season and saying, lost opportunities matter quite a bit, and he felt it necessary to let the city of Philadelphia know that he cares about what they're doing. He recognizes their toughness, and that he appreciates them. Does that mean goodbye? I don't know, but it definitely looks like the conversation um, is now on the forefront to speak about. And I think that Joel Embiid is smart enough to know that too. And one of the things that I think could be going on here is he's trying to apply pressure because he does want out, and or he's not happy with the way things have gone with management or what have you, however he sees it, and is trying to let them know uh, this way, like, yo, I'm sending a message. Y'all need to get y'all stuff together. I could very easily walk away from this place. I have a good relationship with the people. I'm gonna be okay if I leave here. Okay, so y'all better get it right, or I will. That's one way to look at it. Um, I think a combination of several of those different things could be going on. So, yeah, ultimately, I think Joel Embiid expects to be back next year with the Philadelphia 76ers, but he's preparing for the possibility of not. Um, and I think that's smart given the circumstances. We know the Philadelphia 76ers are going to be a different team next year. We fully expect him not to have Ben Simmons as a teammate one way or another next year. So it's going to be a different dynamic there. And maybe once those changes take place, he may be opening the door for the idea that he may not like how the team is going to look, or what they put around him. Maybe he doesn't believe in the direction that the Philadelphia 76ers are going to take this thing after such a trade would take place. Maybe he's not a big fan of Doc. I don't know. But, you know, the thing about Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid is they've been together playing with one another for many years under one coach. And even though they had their issues here and there, it was never this bad, man. It was never this bad. When the infrastructure changed, regardless if the infrastructure changed for the better or for the worse, the adjustment hasn't been comfortable. And that's what it appears like from the outside looking in. That maybe those changes were necessary changes, but when someone gets used to something and they grow up in that, pulling it away from them isn't something that's going to come easy. And now you're starting to see some of the issues that they're having. When a guy like Doc Rivers is coaching the team, there's more pressure. There's more of a microscope on the player's performance based on him running the team. There's more of a emphasis on mistakes made based on his history as a guy who's had some bad losses, some bad choke series and things of that nature. So it's like it's a magnifying glass on a guy like Joel. It's a magnifying glass on a guy like Ben, and you're seeing it, the difference. So that's the thing. I mean, it's an environment that comes with Doc Rivers, unfortunately, in this case. And you just, it's not for everybody. And you couple that with the other stuff that's going on with, at the same time, them also bringing in another big-time personality and big-time pressurized micro scope will be placed on you if you're under this guy's situation with their GM. So it's like, they brought two forces into their organization that bring a lot of media attention. And they already had a lot of media attention just from the fact that those two stars are just that. They have their own cachet. So now it's like, okay, it's not as much pressure when we're playing with Brett Brown under Brett Brown, because, Brett's just kind of a coach that is known for being a part of what we do. He's part of us. Now you're bringing in the Clipper guy, you're bringing in the Rockets guy, and the controversy that comes with them, the possibility of great change coming with them, especially if they fail. It's like, the stability is gone. And even though we didn't love how things were before because we had our issues, it was what we were used to, and that's what I'm gathering has not been so fun for not only this organization, but I could see that kind of going on in other organizations as well. But change is needed sometimes, and players need to move on. I say that sometimes a lot too. Sometimes guys just be places too long and it be time to move on. I haven't forgotten how disappointed Joel was on draft night when his number was called for the Philadelphia 76ers and he didn't fall to the Lakers or wherever else he may have wanted to go. He wasn't happy about going to Philly. He made a career out of it and he's enjoyed, I'm sure, a lot of his process there. I mean, he's grown up there, so it's home now. He don't look at it like he used to, but I'm sure he still has other ideas about where he would like to play or what situations he'd like to find himself in, styles he'd like to play in, coaches he'd like to play under. I'm sure he has a envisioning for what success means to him, and I don't imagine he's found it in Philadelphia, So, yeah, if he's looking around for greener pastures, he hears the conversation about Dame. He sees what happened with AD and how he had success after leaving New Orleans. He can look back at some of the other situations where it didn't go as well. And, yeah, you may want to look around. I mean, look, fans have to be honest. Loyalty in sports is only as good as the sacrifices the player is willing to make in regards to his one and only career. He give his whole career to you and y'all never win. God bless y'all. Y'all got a community. Maybe it's a great life. But there are other opportunities to win. There are other opportunities to make a bag. There's other opportunities out there that players tend to have to fight with the idea of taking advantage of those opportunities because of loyalty to fan bases, loyalty to ownership that is not loyal to anything but what matters to them. And they have different time parameters from which to work. I only got a 10-year plus career. You got a 50, 60-year life to run your organization, 70-year life to run your organization. What are we talking about? It's just two different types of things that need to be measured. So both sides have to do what's best for them, and I don't get mad at players for leaving my team because of it. And I think smart and savvy fans understand that dynamic. You can't ask a guy to stay with you for 20 years, bro. If it happens, be appreciative, celebrate that. But in this market, in this dynamic, nah, it's just not realistic based on everything that we've talked about here. So, but as organizations continue to make better changes and they get better at doing what it is that they do, hopefully we can find more stable organizations that players will want to stay in, and that can change. So we can get back to guys staying places for 15, 20 years. That would be dope. But as long as organizations are run inconsistently, you see a lot of change, you see a lot of mistakes, guys aren't going to want to stay there. I don't care how much they love you and your fan base, they're not going to want to stay there. So that's what I got, man. As far as this particular situation, Joel Embiid, like I said, I expect him to be a Philadelphia 76er unless we start hearing about him deciding he wants to leave. I think that if they start doing anything, they're going to want to get rid of the pieces around him and keep him rather than get rid of him. But again, injuries. They're piling up for Joel. And he already came into the league as somebody that we knew was injury prone. So if a guy like Daryl Morey decides he does want to trade Joel Embiid, I think it would come down to him believing that Joel doesn't have much longer in the league to begin with. And so we'll see. But I wouldn't. This guy's coming off an MVP caliber season. I wouldn't do anything but keep him. That, like I said, everything else around him would have to be looked at, basically. So that's what I got, man. Thank you guys for watching. Peace.